In this video, we will be discussing about binary logistic regression model. A binary logistic regression model is one of the category of the logistic regression models. Logistic regression model can be binary logistic regression model, it can be ordinal logistic regression model, it can be multinomial logistic regression model. And the binary logistic regression model is also called a binomial logistic regression model. Binomial regression model. And the question that we can address in this video is when it is possible to use a binomial logistic regression model or binary logistic regression model. Let us see the structure of the binomial logistic regression model. And it is a model to predict a nominal dependent variable. It is used to predict nominal dependent variable. Okay, nominal dependent variable, what we mean by nominal, we will be discussing. Okay, we will be discussing dependent variable, nominal dependent variable. And provided one or more independent variables. In binomial logistic regression, therefore, we will have one dependent variable, that is nominal dependent variable, and more than one or more than one independent variables. Okay, therefore one dependent variable and one or more than independent variable. Within the independent variable, there should be only two groups. The dependent variable should be categorical. Okay, it should be categorical dependent variable, and within that categorical variable, there should be only two groups or two levels. Okay, let me give you example. Let us say the dependent variable is food security, and within that food security variable, there will be two groups. Okay, households. Let us say the households were inquired regarding their food security. Therefore, there will be only two groups within that food security. Food security based cutoffs of the household, and one will be a food secure group, and the other will be food insecure. Okay, this is a dependent variable which has two, which is categorical, and it has two groups. On that dependent variable, then we can run a binary logistic regression model or binomial logistic regression model. And let me take another example. Let us say the performance of the business enterprise. If the performance of the business enterprise is rated as good, okay, good and poor, there are two levels. Okay, there are two levels. Those are groups. Okay, we say levels. Okay, in the case of binary logistic regression model, we say levels when the groups in the independent variable shows something ordinal. Okay, and it is good is ordered high. okay, above the poor, and the poor is below good. When there is a somewhat greater than or less than comparison of the groups in the dependent variable, then we say levels. Therefore, in the binary logistic regression model, we will either have groups or levels. And in case of food security here, there are food secure households and food insecure households, and this groupings are just names. Okay, the names not showing greater than or less than. Okay, not showing greater than or less than. Just a grouping, okay, a simple grouping. But here, good and the poor, it shows something, a comparison that something is greater than another. And in this case, it can be it is said to be a levels. And the major thing that you put into your mind is that in case of binary logistic regression model, there should be a categorical dependent variable like food security and performance of the enterprise, and the levels or the groups in the dependent variable should be limited to 2. Okay, otherwise if it is greater than 2, then it will take another logistic regression model. It will require multinomial logistic regression model or ordinal logistic regression model. But if the groups or the levels in the dependent variable are just 2, then a binary logistic regression model will be the appropriate regression model to be run. For the independent variables, okay, the independent variable, as I have told at the outset, the independent variable can be either 1 or more than 1. Okay. So let me show example. In case of food security, we can come up with 4 or 5 independent variables that we think of affecting food security. For example, farm size, use of fertilizer in agricultural practice, and access to credit, households access to credit, advice, okay, professional advice, access to professional advice, okay, and livestock units owned by the household, livestock units owned. We can also add another example, another independent variable is household size. And if our interest is to study which of this independent, whether or not this independent variables affect food security, whether or not food security can be predicted from this socio-demographic and economic variables, then the appropriate model will be a binary logistic regression model. Okay, if we have a one dependent variable model, that is, if we have a one dependent variable which is categorical and the categories are limited to 2, we have here food security as a dependent variable, and we have 2 categories, food secure and food insecure households. And if our interest is to predict the dependent variable, okay, the food security from the independent variables, from farm size, where the farm size predicts or influences or determines food security, where the use of fertilizer in the course of agricultural practice, farming, is determining or is predicting food security, whether access to credit, households access to farm credit and agricultural credit, and credit that a household access to buy agricultural inputs like fertilizer, pesticides or other inputs. access to professional advice, whether or not professional advice influences food security, of the household, then if we have such kind of dependent and independent variables, then it is the better, the appropriate model to run is a binary logistic regression model. And the same thing, let me add another example. Performance of the enterprise. Performance of the enterprise is a dependent variable, and its performance is rated as either good or poor. And the independent variables can be, for example, the size of the independent variables. In this case, let me say independent variables. Independent variables, and they can be size of the enterprise. The enterprise in an enterprise can be a small enterprise or micro enterprise. Therefore, our interest is whether or not the size of the enterprise, being small or micro, can predict the performance of the enterprise. Then we can say ownership modality, another independent variable. Ownership modality, the enterprise can be owned, sole proprietorship, can be the ownership form of the enterprise can be a sole proprietorship, partnership, cooperative. Okay, and where our interest is whether or not ownership modality predicts the performance of enterprise to be either good or poor. And we will use softwares like Stata and SPSS to calculate the parameters. Okay, the parameters that estimates the relationship or whether the independent variable predicts the dependent variable. Then another, we can add that the sector. Okay, the sector in which the enterprise is involved. Okay, the enterprise can be in the manufacturing sector, in the merchandise sector, in the service sector, okay, in the urban agriculture sector. Okay, then we can also add another initial capital, okay, another variable, initial capital, current capital, and we can go, but saying that does not mean that we can load the model with unnecessary variables. We have to be selective, and we have to include in the model variables that are proven in the bodies of literature. Or we should not load the model with hodgepodge variables, okay, that can make that can disturb the result of the model. Therefore, to summarize, independent variable binary logistic regression model is a type of a logistic regression model that help us to predict a nominal dependent variable provided one or more than one independent variables. Okay, this is all about a binary logistic regression model. In the next video, I will come up with another explanation in relation to logistic regression, another pattern of logistic regression. Thank you very much.